how to journal so you actually enjoy it and it feels like a proper release.
Hello, my name is Alessia and today we're going to be talking about how to journal. We see lots of reels of people drinking those green smoothies and working out and living in gym gear and journaling and just living their healthy best life. It's now this really popular, cool thing to do, very Insta-girl, and I'm not throwing any shade or disrespect to those people who put out that kind of content. I just think it's kind of glamorized and it's actually hard to know how to journal, how to get into it. It's not as seamless as it looks, as easy as it looks. So that's what I'm going to be helping you to do today. For years I tried to journal, but it just didn't feel like a release. I didn't feel good after, but now I feel a huge weight off my shoulders. Journaling got me through some really tough stuff. How you journal should be individual to you. There's not one size fits all, which is why sometimes when I see on Instagram people journaling in specific ways and using specific prompts, I feel like it can make people feel like it's a really regimented process and that they're doing it wrong. The right way is the way that makes you feel good, that makes you feel like you've released something. That's what journaling is to me anyway. It's a release of these pent-up thoughts and worries and insecurities. It just all flows onto the page, and once you write down your inner conversations, you feel so much lighter. We've all gone through different things, so we all will find different ways of writing cathartic, so I think it's really important that you figure it out, and some of the tips I give might be useless to you, but I'm trying to keep it as generic as possible so you have something useful. Yeah. So the thing that has really helped me is not viewing it as like a timetable of listing out what I've done in the day. I don't view it as something that's for future Alessia or to keep memories, because then you feel the pressure to write down this happened at this time and it was really lovely, and you're not writing for present you. And I feel like that's my number one tip. Write for present you in this moment. Write how you're feeling in the present moment, what's going on around you in the present moment or the last few days, and write it for the you right now. Don't write it for future you. I tend to write for present me, because otherwise I get really obsessed with being like, I want to write this in my journal so I don't forget this wonderful memory of us having a really nice coffee and chat in the park. But if you want journaling to help you with your healing process, I think you should step away from the kind of, this is what I'm doing in my day-to-day. Save that for the vlogs. The first few sentences when you're journaling might feel quite forced. I still have that now and I'm a regular journaler and I love it and I find it like a massive release, as I've said. But the first few sentences do just feel a bit forced because you haven't really had time to spiral. So you just have to power through those first few sentences, and then you'll just be having this like stream of consciousness and you'll be writing all these things down. Keep going basically. I know I've already said there's no rules, but please just keep that in your mind. There's no structure. Don't restrict yourself. There's nothing that you can't write in your journal. If you want to write a poem or be a bit creative or write a quote that you've heard early in the day that's really moved you, write it down. You might actually find that you'll write a quote and then you'll think, oh my gosh, this is a bit like this one time. You write that down and then you think, that made me feel like this. Oh my god, that's why I've got troubles with partners. This is why I feel insecure about my legs. Your brain will start to tick and it's like having a conversation with yourself. I love to read like a self-help book before I journal because they tend to kind of just warm up your mind and get you thinking a bit deeper, and they put you in that kind of like self-reflective mindset. And I think journaling for me is so cathartic because it's the time when I self-reflect. So if you're not into self-help books, you can just go on Pinterest and look at quotes, kind of type in self-help quotes. Actually, I've written down an account on Instagram, The Millennial Therapist. If you look at her quotes, that can get your mind stimulated, and then you could write a quote down and then just maybe write something that relates to it, or maybe your own take on the quote, and then you'll find that you just get all excited and start writing all your little insecurities and worries down, and you'll unpick stuff and you actually find out a lot about yourself via journaling. Back to the self-help books. This is my favourite one, it's so good. So yeah, try reading a book. It doesn't even need to be a self-help book, just a book that will inspire you to think a little bit deeper and to get a bit more creative. And sometimes you just need to warm up. Even with filming these YouTube videos, I kind of need to warm up my ideas and get a bit into that kind of like zone of writing and thinking, and having a conversation with yourself is quite hard. It's easier to kind of bounce off other people. So yeah, a book is essentially replacing the other person. Oh, there's a spider on my window. Another thing you could try is meditate or listen to music before you journal. Again, that just gets the process going, makes you think, makes you turn inwards basically. That's what journaling is. It's kind of looking inwards. So whatever can help you do that, do it. Beforehand, even a walk in nature. You shouldn't be writing for anyone other than you. So when you're writing your journal, don't think, oh my gosh, my boyfriend could read this or my mum could read this, so I'm not going to write this thing down. You need to make sure that this journal is your outlet for just spewing everything going on in here that you don't feel like you can voice to other people, or even if you can voice it to certain people. It's important that this journal feels really safe and you can write anything in it. For me, I write down the things that I'm ashamed of, that I feel guilty about, where I've gone wrong, and this feels really important to me to write down. It feels really good to write that down. I've written things in my journal that I've never told anyone, and I tend to be quite open with my mistakes and the things I'm struggling with, but sometimes there are just those things that you don't feel quite comfortable enough to talk about. So I really encourage you to do that. That requires you feeling like you can write all these nitty-gritty details, these dark things in your journal. So that means you need to have a good hiding space basically, or you need to trust the people you're living with, that they're not going to invade your privacy and go and look at your journal. Sula. Shove it in the pillowcase. Just find somewhere safe for it. You can always order those ones with the padlocks. If you're really, really nervous, you could just send yourself emails. The most important thing is that you feel like you can write down anything and everything you're feeling. The ways in which I get down with the nitty and gritty and get deep is I ask kind of just big questions. Just ask yourself the big, deep questions that are slightly uncomfortable. Why did I do this? How did that make me feel? I met up with this friend and I feel like this now. Why? Write down how you feel after an interaction with someone. Maybe you met with a friend and you actually left feeling really quite low and drained, and it's important that you write that down because it might help you distinguish between whether you're feeling anxious that day or the person wasn't making you feel safe. Journaling can really help you work through friendships and romantic stuff as well. It's a really useful thing to self-reflect in terms of the relationships in your life. So yeah, don't be afraid to get deep. No one's going to see this. This is for you.
And you only.
Date every entry so you can look back and be like, oh my gosh, last December I was feeling really anxious and I've actually made so much progress now because I can go out and interact with my friends. I'm much more sociable. It's just really nice sometimes as a little activity to just sit down and read through your journal because you can see how far you've come, and you can also look back at times when you were so worried about something and it's actually turned out to have not gone that way at all, and it just seems a bit small and insignificant, and then it can help you revamp your way of looking at things because ultimately everything turns out okay in the end. Know that journaling is for any time. When you're happy, sad, anxious, frustrated, you don't have to always write in your journal when you're sad. If you're happy and you're feeling so overwhelmingly warm and joyous, write it down. I think it's easy to assume that you should be journaling or meditating or doing that kind of like self-help work if you're in a low mood, but that's not true. You can do it, and I think we should be doing it all the time, whether we're sad, happy, no matter what you're going through. If you're journaling and you get a bit stuck and you don't really know what else to talk about, a good thing to do is to just read it through. Reading it back may trigger another memory, thought, or feeling. Okay, my last tip is to not worry about grammar, spelling, what person you're writing in. As long as it's clear to the present you now, that's all that matters. Don't worry about future you. I know we keep going back to that, but write for present you. You might switch between writing in first, second, or third person. That's cool. It only needs to make sense to you right now. And if you're like me and you do like things to read easily and be quite clear and concise, you can go back over it and add some commas. But I encourage you to do that right at the end once you've got down everything on the page and you've finished it, basically. Well, I hope that was useful. Please like, subscribe, share, comment. Please comment actually. I really enjoyed the comments. Yeah.